Seoul. Seoul, officially the Seoul Special City, is the capital and largest metropolis of South Korea. Seoul has a population of 9.7 million people, and forms the heart of the Seoul Capital Area with the surrounding Incheon metropolis and Gyeonggi province. Considered to be a global city and rated as an alpha city by Globalization and World Cities Research Network, GaWC, Seoul was the world's fourth largest metropolitan economy in 2014 after Tokyo, New York City, and Los Angeles. International visitors generally reach Seoul via AREX from Incheon International Airport, notable for having been rated the best airport for 9 consecutive years, 2005 to 2013, by Airports Council International. In 2015, it was rated Asia's most livable city with the second highest quality of life globally by Arcadis, with the GDP per capita, PPP, in Seoul being around $40,000. In 2017, the cost of living in Seoul was ranked the 6th highest globally. In 2020, Seoul's real estate market was ranked 3rd in the world for the price of apartments in the downtown center. Seoul was one of the host cities for the official tournament of the 2002 FIFA World Cup, which was co-hosted by South Korea and Japan. With major technology hubs centered in Gangnam and Digital Media City, the Seoul Capital Area is home to the headquarters of 15 Fortune Global 500 companies, including Samsung, LG, and Hyundai. Ranked 7th in the Global Power City Index and Global Financial Centers Index, the metropolis exerts a major influence in global affairs as one of the 5 leading hosts of global conferences. Seoul has hosted the 1986 Asian Games, 1988 Summer Olympics, and the 2010 G20 Seoul Summit. Seoul was the capital of various Korean states, including Baekje, Joseon, the Korean Empire, Goryeo, as a secondary capital, and presently South Korea. Strategically located along the Han River, Seoul's history stretches back over 2,000 years, when it was founded in 18 BC by the people of Baekje, one of the 3 kingdoms of Korea. The city was later designated the capital of Korea under the Joseon dynasty. Seoul is surrounded by a mountainous and hilly landscape, with Bukhan Mountain located on the northern edge of the city. The Seoul Capital Area contains 5 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, Gyeongbok Palace, Hwasong Fortress, Jongno Shrine, Namhansanzong and the royal tombs of the Joseon dynasty. More recently, Seoul has been a major site of modern architectural construction. Major modern landmarks include the In-Seoul Tower, the 63 Building, the Lotte World Tower, the Dongdaemun Design Plaza, Lotte World, Trade Tower, COEX, and the IFC Seoul. Seoul was named the 2010 World Design Capital. It is the birthplace of K-pop and the Korean wave. Etymology. The city has been known in the past by the names Gyeonggi, Korean, Hancha, during the Baekje era, Hanyang, during the Goryeo era, Hansong, during the Joseon era, and Keijo, or Gyeongzong, during Japanese rule. During Japan's annexation of Korea, Hansong was renamed Keijo by the imperial authorities to prevent confusion with the Hancha apostrophe, a transliteration of an ancient Korean word Han, meaning great, which also refers to Han people or the Han dynasty in Chinese, and in Japanese is a term for China. After World War II and Korea's liberation, the city took its present name, which originated from the Korean word meaning capital city, which is believed to have descended from an ancient word, Seoul, Korean, Hancha, which originally referred to Gyeongju, the capital of Shilla. Ancient Gyeongju was also known in documents by the Chinese-style name Gyeongzong, literally gold castle or city or metal castle or city, but it is unclear whether the native Korean-style name Seoul had the same meaning as Gyeongzong. Unlike most place names in Korea, Seoul has no corresponding Hancha, Chinese characters used in the Korean language. On January 18, 2005, the Seoul government changed its official name in Chinese characters from the historic Hanchang, Simplified Chinese, Traditional Chinese, Pinyin, Hanchang, to Shoer, Simplified Chinese, Traditional Chinese, Pinyin, Shoer. History? Main articles, History of Seoul and Timeline of Seoul. The Fortress Wall of Seoul. Settlement of the Han River area, where present-day Seoul is located, began around 4000 BC. Seoul is first recorded as Gyeonggi, the capital of Baekje, founded in 18 BC, in the northeastern area of modern Seoul. There are several city walls remaining in the area that date from this time. Pungnaptosong, an earthen wall located southeast Seoul, is widely believed to have been at the main Waryeseong site. As the three kingdoms competed for this strategic region, control passed from Baekje to Goguryeo in the 5th century, and from Goguryeo to Shilla in the 6th century. In the 11th century Goryeo, which succeeded unified Shilla, built a summer palace in Seoul, which was referred to as the southern capital. It was only from this period that Seoul became a larger settlement. When Joseon replaced Goryeo, the capital was moved to Seoul, also known as Hanyang or Hansong, where it remained until the fall of the dynasty. The Gyeongbok Palace, built in the 14th century, served as the royal residence until 1592. The other large palace, Changdeokgung, constructed in 1405, served as the main royal palace from 1611 to 1872. After Joseon changed her name to the Korean Empire in 1897, Hwangzong also designated Seoul. Originally, the city was entirely surrounded by a massive circular stone wall to provide its citizens security from wild animals, thieves and attacks. The city has grown beyond those walls, and although the wall no longer stands, except along Bugaksan Mountain, Korean, Hancha, north of the downtown area, the gates remain near the downtown district of Seoul, including most notably Sungyemun, commonly known as Namdaemun, and Huminjamun, commonly known as Dongdaemun. During the Joseon dynasty, the gates were opened and closed each day, accompanied by the ringing of large bells at the Bazazak belfry. In the late 19th century, after hundreds of years of isolation, Seoul opened its gates to foreigners and began to modernize. Seoul became the first city in East Asia to introduce electricity in the Royal Palace, built by the Edison Illuminating Company, and a decade later Seoul also implemented electrical street lights. Much of the development was due to trade with foreign countries like France and the United States. For example, the Seoul Electric Company, Seoul Electric Trolley Company, and Seoul Fresh Spring Water Company were all joint Korean-US owned enterprises. In 1904, an American by the name of Angus Hamilton visited the city and said, "The streets of Seoul are magnificent, spacious, clean, admirably made and well drained. The narrow, dirty lanes have been widened, gutters have been covered, roadways broadened. Seoul is within measurable distance of becoming the highest, most interesting and cleanest city in the East." After the annexation treaty in 1910, Japan annexed Korea and renamed the city Gyeongsong, Gyeongsong in Korean and Keijo in Japanese. Japanese technology was imported, the city walls were removed, some of the gates demolished. Roads became paved and Western-style buildings were constructed. The city was liberated by U.S. forces at the end of World War II. In 1945, the city was officially named Seoul, and was designated as a special city in 1949. During the Korean War, Seoul changed hands between the Soviet/Chinese-backed North Korean forces and the American-backed South Korean forces several times, leaving the city heavily damaged after the war. The capital was temporarily relocated to Pusan. One estimate of the extensive damage states that after the war, at least 191,000 buildings, 55,000 houses, and 1,000 factories lay in ruins. In addition, a flood of refugees had entered Seoul during the war, swelling the population of the city and its metropolitan area to an estimated 1.5 million by 1955. Following the war, Seoul began to focus on reconstruction and modernization. As South Korea's economy started to grow rapidly from the 1960s, urbanization also accelerated and workers began to move to Seoul and other larger cities. From the 1970s, the size of Seoul administrative area greatly expanded as it annexed a number of towns and villages from several surrounding counties. Until 1972, Seoul was claimed by North Korea as its de jure capital, being specified as such in Article 103 of the 1948 North Korean Constitution. South Korea's 2019 population was estimated at 51.71 million, and according to the 2018 Population and Housing Census, 49.8% of the population resided in the Seoul metropolitan area. This was up by 0.7% from 49.1% in 2010, showing a distinct trend toward the concentration of the population in the capital. Seoul has become the economic, political and cultural hub of the country, with several Fortune Global 500 companies, including Samsung, SK Holdings, Hyundai, POSCO and LG Group headquartered there. Seoul was the host city of the 1986 Asian Games and 1988 Summer Olympics as well as one of the venues of the 2002 FIFA World Cup. Gyeongbok, the main royal palace during Joseon Dynasty. Gyeongbok Palace, one of the 5 royal palaces during Joseon Dynasty. Geography. The Han River at sunrise. Seoul is in the northwest of South Korea. Seoul proper comprises 605.25 square kilometers, 233.69 square miles, with a radius of approximately 15 kilometers, 9 miles, roughly bisected into northern and southern halves by the Han River. The Han River and its surrounding area played an important role in Korean history. The 3 kingdoms of Korea strove to take control of this land, where the river was used as a trade route to China, via the Yellow Sea. The river is no longer actively used for navigation, because its estuary is located at the borders of the 2 Koreas, with civilian entry barred. Historically, the city was during the Joseon Dynasty bounded by the Seoul Fortress Wall, which stretched between the 4 main mountains in central Seoul, Bugaksan, Inwangsan, Naksan, and Namsan. The city is bordered by 8 mountains, as well as the more level lands of the Han River Plain and western areas. Due to its geography and to economic development policies, Seoul is a very polycentric city. The area that was the old capital in the Joseon Dynasty, and mostly comprises Gyeonggi District and Yeong District, constitutes the historical and political center of the city. However, for example, the city's financial capital is widely considered to be in Yeouido, while its economic capital is Gangnam District. Climate? Seoul has a humid continental climate influenced by the monsoons, Köppen, Dwa. Being in the extreme East Asia, the climate can be described as humid subtropical with great variation in temperature and precipitation throughout the year. Kwa, by -3 degrees Celsius isotherm. The suburbs of Seoul are generally cooler than the center of Seoul because of the urban heat island effect. Summers are hot and humid, with the East Asian monsoon taking place from June until September. August, the hottest month, has average high and low temperatures of 32.6 and 23.4 degrees Celsius, 91 and 74 degrees Fahrenheit, with higher temperatures possible. Heat index values can surpass 40 degrees Celsius, 104.0 degrees Fahrenheit, at the height of summer. Winters are usually cold to freezing with average January high and low temperatures of 1.5 and -5.9 degrees Celsius, 34.7 and 21.4 degrees Fahrenheit, and are generally much drier than summers, with an average of 24.9 days of snow annually. Sometimes, temperatures drop dramatically to below -10 degrees Celsius, 14 degrees Fahrenheit, and on some occasions as low as -15 degrees Celsius, 5 degrees Fahrenheit, in the midwinter period of January and February. Temperatures below -20 degrees Celsius, -4 degrees Fahrenheit, have been recorded.